Artist James Kitchen wants you to stop and think. And if you've noticed public art in Springfield in the past few months, he may have succeeded in this task. Tonight, we welcome back Monte Belmonte, who spoke with Kitchen about his latest exhibition in downtown Springfield.
I'm outside 1550 Main in downtown Springfield with Chesterfield, Mass. Sculptor James Kitchen. This looks amazing, James. What is it?
I went to Europe a few years ago. I could not believe it. I thought I died and went to heaven, because in Europe, all these cities have sculptures everywhere. In every corner of every city street, there was a sculpture. I thought, this is the way a civilized society should be. This is great. And I was in Austria, and I said, so what do you call sculpture in German? And they said, Denkmal. Denk means to think, mal means a moment or time. Think a moment. I thought, oh my gosh, that's what every artist wants you to do, is stop and think a moment. And I just fell in love with that word. And so I was thinking, boy, in a city, having public art is such a wonderful thing. And coming to Springfield, this is one of the pieces that I wanted to be on display, because each piece has a narrative and a story, and I want people to stop and think a moment. We're all so busy running around with our busy lives, and on some level, that's what an artist does. They try to get people to stop and think a moment. And
this isn't the only sculpture that's trying to encourage people in downtown Springfield to think a moment. Outside 1550 and even inside 1550, there are a bunch of James Kitchen sculptures.
I'm ubiquitous. I have 30 sculptures throughout the city, and I have 60 inside of 1550.
Springfield isn't a city necessarily notorious at this point yet for public art installations, and now there is a lot all of a sudden. How did this partnership with you and the city come about?
Well, so we can change that right now. I was fortunate to meet Evan Plotkin at the Paradise City Arts Fair, and that was about a year ago, and we discussed putting a few pieces at 1350, and to make a long story short, he introduced me to mass development here at 1550 Main, and that was kind of the first of 3 phases. The second one was putting them in downtown, and then the third phase is putting some sculptures I'm going to make out of locally found materials that will have a history with the local, with Springfield here. And Springfield is amazing. The history here, I'm always amazed how many things, it truly is a city of firsts, what all was invented here. It's amazing.
With Indian motorcycles and the metal inherent therein, and even the Armory building, you're going to be using some.
People are aware of that, but
right.
They don't. The first postcard was here, the monkey wrench. There's like a list, an endless list of firsts here that I think would be good to remind people what a wonderful city. This is incredible history here.
And a new first that incorporates some of the old firsts is the allegedly world's largest metal bird.
I think I've got the.
No one's going to dispute it, so we can just claim it. I think.
I believe it is the. It's definitely the tallest steel bird in New England, and we're doing research. I have the library helping me. Hopefully we'll figure out if that's, we will find out soon if that's the case, but I believe I'm not aware of any other ones.
Have you had much opportunity to experience the reactions of people in the Denkmal moment, walking through downtown Springfield and looking at these sculptures?
Most people don't know who I am, so I can kind of just blend in and listen to people and get their honest reactions. And fortunately, the good news is it's very heartwarming. I get to see people, they take a lot of photos, and they seem to be very effusive about it. And I think most people are just happy to have a surprise. They're walking downtown and
Is that your hope? Is that what you wanted to happen with these public art installations for the city of Springfield, that they would have these moments?
Well, every artist, like I said, goes back to the Denkmal thing. I'm a voracious reader, I think a lot, and I make these sculptures. Each one has a story to it, and hopefully people on some level will cause them to either think about something or just say something nice about Springfield and have a good experience downtown and get the narrative to be a positive one.
Well, let's hear a couple more of the stories. Let's go inside 1550 Main and take a look at some of the other sculptures.
Well, let's go.
So James Kitchen, another part of this art initiative, shameless self-promotion for both you and WGBY, is that these are all for sale, and a portion of the proceeds goes to benefit WGBY, but you are inspired by PBS and WGBY programming in the creation of some of the sculptures.
I love WGBY. One of my favorite shows is Nova, and a few of these pieces have been inspired by specifically programs I watched. The Universe back here was one, and this one was inspired. There was a Nova show, it was about the brain, and I was fascinated because it talked about who we are. Our consciousness is really just like a hologram of memories, and they talked about how, I call this piece Augenblick. It's a German word for, it means blink of an eye. And I was thinking about, here's an eye, and anything we see immediately gets translated into these chemicals, and the chemicals are confluence around a few neural sparks. It's basically a few sparks and the chemicals, and I just watched that show. I was fascinated because what is reality? Who are we? And what, and it brought it down on just a biological, chemical level. And I thought about it, and this is what resulted from it. It just led me to just want to explore that more.
And when you were watching Nova, you also had a revelation of how the universe works and decided to craft that into a sculpture as well?
That was, there's a segment about Einstein.
Well, let's go look at it. It's right over there, right?
Yeah.
All right, so explain the universe to me.
Explain the universe in 2 minutes here?
Sure. You did it in sculpture form in no time.
Nova had a segment about Einstein. I fell in love with the guy, and it inspired me so much. I went and I read, there's 2 or 3 books actually on him, biographies I read after seeing Nova. And Einstein, he started everything, and it's on so many levels I could relate to him. And when you talk about when things get very large or very small, physics, it's surreal. It just doesn't make sense. And I think about it a lot. But what Einstein said that really got me, he said, imagination is more important than knowledge. And I kept thinking about that. And once I absorbed that, I thought, well, if that's the case, intuition is my strong point. I'm going to go out and I'm going to intuit the answer. And so here I went out, I solved the riddle of the universe, and I felt like a baby after I did this, because I just, it's like, wow, there it is.
Can you explain it to me, or am I supposed to divine it from the sculpture?
Sometimes I think you either got to just, it's a visceral feeling. I mean, after I made it, I realized it's kind of almost like the Big Bang Theory there, with things expanding and expansion, and it's got time and space. And there's a neighbor of mine whose great-great-grandfather had a seed machine, and he planted in Chesterfield, Mass, probably in the late 1800s, and there's a bit of local history that I see that shape, and I'm thinking, wow, it looks, sun, like a sun or a star, and all these pieces together, you've got the universe, stars, it feels like a clock on one level. It's got a lot of elements that, again, I can't explain other than say my gut tells me that's it.
Tomorrow on Connecting Point, Jim Madigan puts the week's political news in perspective with our State We're In edition. That's Friday. Until then, I'm Carrie Saldo. Let's connect tomorrow night.